Yo,
Yo,
what do you want to talk about today?
so I want to talk about how our world has changed a bit over the past few weeks.
Yeah, we kind of disappeared from this show
A
by
little
accident.
bit. By accident, but also we were taking some intentional resetting time because we
Yeah.
came to a massive realization. And I want to share it with everyone because we've been sharing the behind the scenes. Like the whole premise of this show is how we've been building our separate but interconnected businesses. And a lot of that was focused on Full Stack Solopreneur, the group coaching community program, and our private one to one coaching. And we've realized after doing this for 6 months together now that we no longer really want separate but interconnected businesses. We kind of want a business.
An interconnect, just
And then
just an
just
interconnected.
the interconnected part. And the reason behind that is nuanced and I think worth talking about because I think there's a lot of people that are going to be able to see themselves in our story. And also something that I said publicly last week, like pivoting and zigzagging, like this is the process. Like there is no, like, you don't wake up one day and say, I want to work for myself and have it figured out. And then like, that's it. Version one is the final version. Like, no, version one is not the final version. There are so many versions. And we are now at a new version that's got us both like re-energized and excited. And I think we should just share how we got there, what it is, and what's next.
Yeah, and this is off the back of Full Stack Solo, the self-paced course launching for a brief period of time. And we've since closed enrollment, right? Like you cannot buy Full Stack, the group coaching program anymore. You can't buy Full Stack, the self-paced course. That was a limited run. And if people who got in,
Yep.
and that was it.
Yeah.
And that was a really intentional decision. And we probably didn't realize it the moment we launched it, but like right after we launched it, we were like, oh, we can't leave these competing ideas live together forever. Like, so we made the decision immediately as after we launched it to take it down after, I don't know, it was like, I think we launched on a Thursday. We took it down Sunday
Yeah.
night. And then simultaneously closing enrollment for the group program because all of this happened as we were having this realization, which was what we need, what the offer is. Which is
Yeah.
like weird because we make offers and do content for a living, but like, hey, it's like you're gonna go through all the iterations.
Well,
And it kind of clicked.
it clicked, and that's the thing. Like we've been journeying through this publicly and privately for more than just the 6 months that Full Stack is being a thing. Like we've been talking about how can we work together for like a year and a half now,
Yeah.
and Full Stack was just the first iteration. But even as we had Full Stack, like we were behind the scenes trying to figure out what is the super ding dong offer, like what is the thing, how do we charge people a lot of money to give them a shitload of value. They get both of us and they get both of our skills because we know, like, the whole reason we came together in the first place is we understand that in order to have an offer, you need content, and in order to have content, you need an offer. Like at its most reduced level, like we get that, but that has been hard to explain and hard to package in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, the engagement model was busted.
Busted.
We tried to make it like this tandem, like or ping pong coaching experience, and it did not work.
Yeah. So
It
just
did
to give
not work.
people some details, just to be transparent, like we were signing people like as like a you work with Nick, then you work with Erica type deal. So like because that's the order of operations that still makes the most sense for the most part. Like you can't create content if you don't have an offer to create content around, right? But you can create content about the journey, and we'll get to that in a second. So Nick was working with people one to one. They'd reach a point where they felt like their offer was in a good enough place to quote unquote launch it, and then they'd come work with me one to one. And even though I was asynchronously catching up on their life, like it felt like something was wrong with the transition, and it felt like something was missing when Nick wasn't there, because none of us had like I didn't have the context that I needed, and Nick's guidance was still desired. It didn't
It didn't
work.
deliver the way we needed it to. Like
Yeah.
there was definitely value, but it was like it was too jarring of an experience. Anyway, the point is it wasn't the right engagement model.
Yep.
And then something happened. One of my clients, Brian, said something to me, and I don't know why I forget exactly how it came up, but he said something to me, and it just reswizzled my brain. Once I heard it, I couldn't unhear it. And he was like, dude, I would pay a stupid amount of money to have Erica take over my content for me. He threw out a stupid number. And I was like, wait a minute. Here's like a really important context. Brian Caney, he was doing like 25,000 a month. He's now just closed his like 12th or 13th client on his portfolio. He's doing $73,000 a month. And that's like an insane outcome for a one person business with like a couple of contractors. And I was like, well, what's going on here? And the realization was that Brian gets a lot of referrals, which has been fantastic. But the fear was always that they're going to dry up.
Mhm.
Anyway, long story short was that he was like, I have so much anxiety over trying to like get LinkedIn to do the thing and to create the content. He's like, I'm like super busy. And like, I'm better at building relationships than I am playing content and playing LinkedIn.
And a little bit more context. He's been posting on LinkedIn for like 2 years, pretty
Yeah.
much consistently 2 times a week. And
Yeah.
he has, in his own words, never gotten an inbound cold lead that closed.
Yeah. So the point of me bringing this up though is that when he was like, we were talking about like what's the next step for him, right? Like we basically one of the things that he and I worked on together was this idea of like how do we increase his operational load. So it was like a combination of delegation. Like after we created the offer and it was easy to sell, he's like, great, now I'm at capacity. What do we have to do? Well, we need to delegate a lot of this stuff. We need to automate a lot of this stuff. And so as we did that, we created a ton more capacity. And then it's like, okay, well, how do we fill that? And now we're kind of playing this game where we dial in pricing even further. And he's like, but now he's like, how do I get? I want to grow more. I need more leads, and I don't want to wait for referrals. And he's like, I would pay a stupid amount of money for Erica to help me with my content, but more hands on. And it's like, and then it kind of just clicked. It was like, oh, the offer is the done for you offer in top of funnel content because Brian can close.
Mm-hmm.
Most solos at that scale, at that level, can close. They can sell. They're great at building rapport and relationships, but they just need the top of funnel support.
Yeah. And
That's really it.
and from my point of view, I have had a lot of I've had like a wall, I guess that's the best way to put it, up when it comes to done for you content. Ever since I left my head of content job, I didn't want to write content for anyone ever again. That was the story I told myself. Like, you've ghostwritten content for 6 years, you're done. Content Sparring, my one-on-one service, was purely a coaching and done with you situation. I thought that that was where I wanted to live for the rest of my life. Turns out I needed to do that for a year to realize I kind of hate that.
There's nothing you. I don't. Well, like, do you hate it?
I
Do you hate coaching?
I don't hate coaching when the way that I explain it isn't clicking and people just want to know why I intuitively make the decisions I do, and I'm giving my best advice and I'm explaining, it's just not clicking. They still can't do it on their own. So it made me feel like what I was doing was valuable for the people who could take it and run with it and do it on their own, and it wasn't valuable for the ones who didn't. And maybe that's just an ICP thing. Like, maybe I was working with the wrong types of people. Fine, because I still am doing it with a couple select people and they get it and it's fantastic. So good for that. But I started to ask myself the question of, is the story I'm telling myself, like, what is the story I'm telling myself about how you're not a ghostwriter? You can't write other people's content. Like, what does that mean? Where did that come from? I did like a bunch of reflection and came to the conclusion that I was telling myself writing for other people was going to make me less valuable somehow. I don't know why. Just to be fully honest, like I thought that it was going that the best way to be valuable was to help other people do it themselves. But like I can have such a bigger outcome if I do it for people or with like for and then with like they can edit, we can go back and forth, than me just trying to explain it to you and you never get it. And I don't want to ghostwrite for hundreds of people ever again. Like random shit that like I never see the outcome or the impact of it. But like for a select, like we only need in this new offer like 20 clients a year maximum, right? And it's going to feel really good if that outcome gets them business, money, happiness, and I'll get them there way faster than me trying to coach them through it. So like that story sounds really good.
Well, let's talk about what the existing mental scaffolding of ghostwriting is, which is X many dollars for X many posts.
Yep.
And it gets heavily commoditized. It's a race to the bottom. The value perception is all out of sorts. Like the whole thing is a frustrating experience. And then you're kind of in a volume game.
Exactly.
Versus one of the things that we're very adamant about with the way that this is packaged and the way that the engagement model works is that, and I'll even flip it around, right? A traditional ghostwriting experience is when you hire someone to like sit on a call with me for an hour a month, and you will get a month's worth of content. And while the time to value and like the way that that works logically, you're like, cool, like little effort, maximum output. But it's not about creating content for the sake of creating content or trying to wring insights out of people like a towel.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're trying to like squeeze it for as much as you can possibly get out of it. One of the aha moments that we had was in the coaching engagement, and as we're building the offer, people are having these moments of like these prolific moments about their business or their clients or the thing that they do. And you're like a stenographer in this case, where you're taking the minutes and you're like, hey, you're saying all of these amazing things. This is all super interesting content. And it's not them like peanut butter marketing trying to spread their expertise or just like blast their expertise
I
all
like
over.
how you put it the other day. You were like just trying to expert all over LinkedIn.
They're just like, yeah, they're just trying to just like just spread their expertise all over LinkedIn. And it's like, and it's just so useless. It just feels so defeating when you try to do that versus like, hey, you shared this anecdote or this win you had, and you see the world through content. Brian sees the world through paid ads, email, and HubSpot operations. Like he doesn't see the world the way that you see it. And you need, in the introduction of you to that environment makes content that is so much more relatable. And so anyway, all of this was like this huge aha. I was like, oh, the engagement model and how we do this and how we go about it. And the point is that it's not like, oh, well, you get 3 posts a week for X many dollars. It's like we handle the top of funnel.
Yep.
We handle all the things that everyone who knows you knows about you, all the things that people love about you. Like, how do you get other people to realize that and to like understand that you are a genuine person with interesting thoughts on the businesses you serve, and you're capable of generating amazing outcomes for them, but you're also a very busy person and you don't think in content or playing LinkedIn, but you do want to. This is a really interesting caveat. They want to write, they want to create, but it's like heady business content. They want to create more content that is super deep on the thing that they know and love and do every day, but that makes pretty terrible social media content.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like we found this little zone. It was like, if we can, because when you play LinkedIn, there's so much anxiety about this post needs to achieve X, Y, or Z thing. And then it takes their emphasis off of how do I get to do this other thing that I love or write about this other thing that I love or just really care about and enjoy doing. So we're like, we found this zone. It was like, can this work? So we decided to pilot it with a bunch of people. And by a bunch of people, it's like, I think we're going to max it out at like 4 or 5 people. Mm-hmm. And we have 3 or 4 people on right now.
And by the way, caveat, we have 3 or 4 people on right now because I marketed the problem
Yeah, that's
on
true. You put
LinkedIn.
one post out. You were like, hey, here's an idea. And you talk about this, like this what we have called the recognition gap.
Yeah.
This concept of you're really well known because like you have a great business. People refer people to you when they can, and you're really well known for the thing that you do among the small group of people who know. But it's like, how do you get other people to know? How do you reduce the anxiety of will a referral come through in time if I need one?
Mm-hmm. It was just crazy. Like, we decided we should pilot this. We both like the idea. I wrote a post. We got like a bunch of inbound from warm and cold people. And then we also went to our network of people that we thought this would work really well with. And we pitched it to them. And within like 24 hours, we had 3 clients, which is just like, I'm not trying to say this to brag. I'm saying like this is what happens when you're consistently marketing the problem, process, and proof. Like, I say this a lot publicly. You can pivot and people will pivot with you if you've been sharing the problems that you see, like how you see the world, your journey through it, and proof
Yeah.
that what you do works no matter what you're doing.
And let's be very clear. You were never like, hey, here is a thing I'd like to sell you. All you said were, there's been a few questions on my mind lately. How do solopreneurs reach and maintain 20 to 50K months? How does content fuel that business? There's this idea that you're really good at what you do, but no one outside your existing circle or network knows it. And then you painted the picture. Your business lives and dies by referrals. You reinvent deliverables for every client. You do LinkedIn, but you don't have a strong point of view. Like, and basically you were like, hey, if this is something that that seems to connect with you, let me know. And then people did. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like this post doesn't have like a bajillion impressions or comments or likes, by the way. Like you're Erica Schneider and you have 40,000 followers on LinkedIn. Like, that doesn't necessarily apply when you're writing about super niche stuff like this. Like, I would imagine it has a sub-optimal number of impressions compared to some of the other silly shit you write on LinkedIn.
Shit posts always perform better than anything else.
That's true. So that's the point. That's the whole point I'm trying to make is like, you just described the problem and you're like, if this sounds like you, let me know. You said, hit me up. Let's see. Let's see what people have to say. And a bunch of people came through and they were like, this is exactly it. It was like, cool. We know we got the problem right. And I think we've been really close to getting it this right for a while. I think the problem that we faced originally was that we were like 10K months. This was like the aha. And when I was talking to Brian, when he was just like, he kind of threw that at me that day. He was like, you know how much money I'd pay to have Erica handle this for me? Like, it means that much to me. It's like, oh, like it's there was a mismatch between like what the problem was and who we thought suffered from it and then how they wanted it solved. Like, people like Brian or people who are running their business, like, they're not content people in the same way that we traditionally think about content, which is.
And even if they are, it is extremely hard to market yourself in general. But when you get to the level where you're delivering excellent work at like 30, 40, 50K a month, you don't have time in the same way to sit down and write content unless you are a superstar at it. And that is okay
Unless
too.
that's what you do.
Unless that's what you do.
Yeah, unless your business is I create content for a living.
Right.
But odds are, like, then you don't need it. But odds are you're like, I am a demand gen person or I'm a rev ops person.
Yeah.
Like, can you create content? Yeah, for sure. But is it like the last thing you'd like to do, or at least create that top of funnel content? Is that the last thing you'd like to do? 1000%. Most people would much rather spend that time doing anything else.
Yeah,
I mean,
sitting
even just
down and writing like a brand new like point of view of where marketing is going, like
Anything else.
spend your time doing that and then like give that to me or talk about it on the call and I can spin that up into stuff that's going to get you attention on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's just like, how do you play the game
Yeah.
for? So anyway, all of this is context and nuance to some of what's happening here. So full stack solopreneur is gone. Full stack solopreneur is gone away. You can no longer purchase full stack as we know it, at least for now. Who knows what the future will bring? Full stack solopreneur, this podcast and the Substack is becoming how solos scale.
How solos scale.
It feels good to say it.
It feels really good to say it.
Well, say the idea feels really simple.
Yeah, there you go.
Like the premise of the show moving forward is going to be like every week we're going to share a new framework or a concept or some example of how solopreneurs we know are going from 25 to 50 plus per month.
Very simple.
Like very simple. We can bring some friends on, we can bring some people on to talk about it. We're going to dissect what we think is going well and what people are doing.
Yeah.
We'll share some of our own frameworks. Like it's going to be a little bit more tangible than just us shooting the breeze, although there'll be plenty of that.
I want to talk about why we're, I don't know if elevating is the right word because there's absolutely nothing unelevated about the audience we were serving before. It's just it's going up market.
Right.
And I want to talk about why we're deciding to do that at this stage of our business, because I think a lot of people who are a few steps behind us might come to this conclusion themselves in the future. So I just want to explain like why we're doing this, where it came from.
There's about 1,000 reasons.
1,000 routes?
Well, over 1,000. There's a lot of reasons to do it. I think you will always face downward market pressure, period, full stop.
Yep.
Always. And we talk about the signal versus noise concept. And I think what we interpreted as signal turned out to be noise. I shared this on the group coaching call this morning, which was the idea that we received a lot of what we thought was signal for like the pressure to make a self-paced version of full stack. There was like a lot of interest in it from day one. So it's like 7 months of people asking for this course, and it didn't deliver. It didn't show like the wait list and just kind of like the whole launch of it. It didn't, there was something that felt off about all of it. And it just, the further down markets you go, you end up building a completely different business. And it just wasn't the type of business that we wanted to build. You end up, it's like, it's much more a game of tactics and volume and less relationships. And that's not the type of business that we want to be in. We want to be in the relationship business. We want to be in the exponential outcomes business. And as awesome as it is to help more people, I find the outcomes to be more incremental. And yes, we've built a lot of great relationships with the people who have invested the time to like come to the calls every week. But I think at the highest level is like, how do we like, again, talking about people like Brian, like to see success like that, and you go, I want to do that for as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah. And for me personally, it got to the point where I knew that unless I got really handsy with their business and like their content and like analyzing and auditing all of the different places people are creating content, how they're creating content, spending time talking to them about just in more detail, like the two of us even talking to them about their point of view and what they want to do. Like I was reaching a point where I knew that what I wanted the outcomes for them to be were going to be much harder for them to get without me just really working closer with them. And that was a big signal for me, because if I'm not feeling like, just me personally as a human, if I feel like what I'm doing isn't, and you're giving me money for something that's not actually going to get you the outcomes that I want it to get you, like that starts to feel shitty. Like I don't want to be in the business of selling you something that doesn't have a very high return on investment.
Yeah.
Um,
And I just think the volume, like it became a shouting match. Like there's a lot of volume.
yeah,
There's a very high volume of things available at that level for people.
yep,
And we ended up taking a stance that I don't love, which was like I felt like we were competing, and I don't ever want to compete.
yeah,
It just, I don't know, the model just didn't resonate with us any longer, and I think we both wanted more stability in the business.
totally.
So the idea of ending the digital product space, because we started it as this idea of like, hey, there's a space in this market for people who are too far along for a course, not far enough that need a private coach. Like this whole idea, I think it's still true,
Hmm.
but the way in which we help people through that, I don't think we've got the right engagement model down.
I
And
agree.
so all that to say is that we're at a place now where I think we're able to provide a different service. It's not coaching, it's not the traditional ghostwriting experience, it's not the traditional consulting experience. Like we've really been able to create a different type of engagement model where we take people through this in a way that's truly different, and creates an exponential outcome or difference for people. So I'm excited to share more on that as it develops and as we move out of pilot and like more publicly launch this business. And
Really
this offer.
good notes so far, though. Just been doing this for a week, 2 weeks. And the first post that I wrote for Brian was his highest organic reach ever on LinkedIn, which feels very good. Um, and we've had a couple of kickoff calls with a few other people. It's been really cool. Like Nick's doing the coaching. I'm there asking follow-ups if I need to for more clarity. And then I've got all the content ideas I need and they're getting clarity on their offer. Like it feels right. It feels like this is what we were meant to be doing the whole time.
Yeah. And then it positions people or puts people in the position to then build an audience like as they're kind of going through the process, which is basically the whole starting early thing. We're really referring to this more as market conditioning
Yeah.
and getting people to start seeing the world through their eyes and seeing the problem the way that they see it and exploring it with them versus experting it with them or them experting at other people.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for just these early days with this pilot group, and I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to build the rest of it out.
Me too. And we're
So
still doing the Substack where it's going to be like this will be free content where we'll talk
yes, this
about
is still coming out.
we're going to talk all about what we're doing. We got a bunch of like a whole list of pod ideas
Oh yeah,
that we're going to attack. But I
the
also want to
hiatus is
say
over.
the mini books thing for the paid Substack is still something we're rattling around in our heads. Like we might still do that. It's undecided.
I think it is. I think it's undecided as to when the launch will be.
Right.
Versus, we were really aiming for a June 1
Yeah.
launch, but I think that's going to get kicked back as we roll this pilot through. So
Yeah.
more to come. But
So much more
I
to
think,
come.
I think this is a good place to end it today. There's gonna be so much more, but we're back. New episodes every week. We're trying to get the long form stuff rolling. And next week we're gonna be rolling out with the first of many like frameworks and concepts and examples of how solopreneurs are going from 25K to 50K plus per month.
I'm so excited.
Hell yeah.
All right. See you then.
See you then.
I'm talking to the audience, not you. I'll see you, listener, on the next one.
You.
I'll see you when
later.
I see you when I see you.
All right, which is basically every day.